So it's finally October now, right? I guess that means it's time for a month of horror games, right? A month completely dedicated to horror games? That'd be something that's real cool. This month is dedicated to horror games. Now, my definition of horror game is any game that has something people generally consider scary in it. These games don't necessarily have to be scary themselves, but they do have to have something in them that people are scared of. For example, the Dead Rising series isn't scary at all, but it's a series about zombies, which qualifies it as a horror game. I was originally going to do the entire Dead Rising series this month, but the gameplay is generally the same throughout them all, so instead of doing them all, I'm only doing the Dead Rising games where you play as Chuck Green, so unfortunately, that means that I'm not going to do Off the Record. I will also not be covering Case West, as the story in that game is more about Frank West than it is about Chuck. Chuck is a father whose daughter Katie got bitten by a zombie. In order to counteract the infection, he has to give her Zombrex, a vaccine created to stop someone from becoming a zombie. Unfortunately, as Zombrex is still in its experimental stage, it has to be applied every 12 hours. That means that not only does Chuck have to buy a super expensive, rare, and highly sought-after vaccine for his child, he has to do it twice a day. So, essentially, the games are based around trying his hardest to find Zombrex for his daughter. So, to sum it up, these are the Dead Rising games that I will be reviewing in this series of videos. Dead Rising Case Zero, the one that we're at right now, and Dead Rising 2. And these are the games that I will not be reviewing in these videos. Dead Rising 1, Dead Rising 2 Off the Record, Dead Rising 2 Case West, and Dead Rising 3. Case Zero is a prequel story to Dead Rising 2. So we're going to be talking about Case Zero first. The intro cutscene starts off with you stopping off at a gas station, hoping to get supplies. You end up giving Katie your Zombrex, and you get out of your car to search for supplies, when someone decides it's an amazing idea to steal your car. And, of course, they don't give you back your Zombrex, so it's up to you to go search for more so that your beloved daughter Katie doesn't become a zombie. The gameplay in these games is pretty straightforward. Go up to zombies, kill them, rinse and repeat throughout the entire series. The fun part comes in with the weapons at your disposal and what you can do with them. There are a ton of weapons in these games, ranging from your standard baseball bat and pistol to paddle boards and chainsaws. It's amazing. So diverse. You can even combine sub-weapons to create combo weapons, which are generally much, much stronger than the other types of weapons, firearms included. They also grant you experience points whenever you kill stuff with them, so it's a really easy way to level up when you have them equipped. You can also attack zombies with your fist, but it takes an incredibly long time to kill them like that, so I wouldn't recommend it. You press the X button to perform your standard attack, which is generally powerful enough to kill most zombies, and some weapons even have a special attack that you can perform by holding the X button. These attacks generally trigger a small mini cutscene that appears with you zoomed in, utterly destroying the zombie. Although these animations only last a second or two each, they can get very annoying if used repeatedly, so I would recommend only using them every once in a while to avoid burning yourself out with them. The game is in the third person, and you can generally go wherever you want to, with a few exceptions. Since Katie needs Zombrex at a specific time, the entire series is under a strict time limit, meaning that while free roam is an option, you also have to focus on getting everything finished, since you automatically lose the game if even one deadline is missed. Though, that rule only applies to the main story. The side missions in this game are completely optional, and nothing happens if you miss them. Come to think of it, it's kind of funny. A game about zombies has deadlines all throughout the game. Get it? Deadlines? I'll see myself out. Just kidding, that joke was hilarious, and if you think anything else about it, then you're wrong. Although the time limit may feel a bit restricting to some, I feel that it actually helps with the realism in this game, knowing that if you don't get stuff done by a specific time, Katie will die, and we all know what happens if Katie dies. Anyway, during the game you'll come across a bunch of survivors. Just take them to your safe house and they'll give you experience. You can give them weapons to hold on to so that they can defend themselves, and since you don't have any particular time limit with them, you can carry them forever, so feasibly, you could carry a group of complete awesomeness around you wherever you go, if you wanted to. I wouldn't do that though, as when they die, they're dead forever, no respawning, which means you won't get any experience from them if they die. Also, a quick side note before we get back into the story, you save your game by pissing in the bathroom. So, that's amazing. That being said, that about wraps it up with the gameplay elements. These games are pretty simple, so let's get on with the story. After your car gets stolen, you end up finding out that the place is full with zombies, meaning that you need to find a place to hide. You find a junkyard with a gas station right next to it. There are supplies in it. So you decide it's time to go find Katie some Zombrex after you get stocked up. You end up going outside only to find that there is a massive horde of zombies that's everywhere inside the town. Even in the places where there aren't zombies everywhere, they're still only a few feet apart from each other. There's so many zombies for you to kill in these games that there's a counter on screen throughout the entire game of how many zombies you've killed. Now, this may seem like a bad situation for you, but in reality, the zombies are just trying to make up for the handicap that they have against such a god amongst men as Chuck Green is. Let's put it this way. Chuck Green is to zombies as a hot knife is to butter. Unfortunately, though, Chuck's weapons aren't as amazing as he is, meaning they'll break if they're used too much. After breaking a few weapons, as well as a lot of zombie skulls, he eventually finds himself at the scene of a massive car wreck. And that massive car wreck just so happens to have an emergency vehicle in it, and that emergency vehicle just so happens to have Zombrex in it, as well as a dead body. That dead body has a radio on it, and it conveniently starts playing right as you pick the radio up. You learn that the government will be there by nightfall. Chuck doesn't want to be caught by the military, though, because if they find out Katie is bitten, they'll put her into quarantine. Meanwhile, while this all is happening, you find a motorbike that Chuck conveniently has the ability to fix. However, he needs parts to fix it, meaning you need to go out and get parts for it so that you can escape before the military arrives. Although this part of the game can get a bit tedious, it's amazingly satisfying to run over zombies with a cart. You end up running all over the town to collect parts to fix the bike, and after you do that, you can roam freely until you need to give Katie her Zombrex. You go back to the station to give Katie her Zombrex, but the owner of the station comes back, and he sees you give her the shot. He ends up trying to kill her, so you get into a fight with him. Much like the zombies, he's incredibly easy to beat, especially if you have the right weapons. After you beat him, you decide that it's time to leave, so you hop on the bike and leave the station. Unfortunately, the boss fight earlier has delayed you just enough so that the military arrives before you can escape. You get into an actually pretty cool section of gameplay where you ride the bike across town, eventually escaping and leaving. You end up running into the dude who stole your car, although he's a lot more dead than he was when you previously saw him. Chuck ends up taking everything out of the car and leaving on the motorcycle. The screen fades to black, and just like that, the game is now over. I believe this game is really good, especially for the price that they asked for it. You can get this game for like $5 on the Xbox Marketplace, so I would highly recommend it if you have a few dollars to spare. Although it may not be the longest game ever, clocking in at a mere 1 to 1.5 hours, this game is filled with a bunch of fun stuff to do in that time. Essentially, this game is the Metal Gear Solid 5 Ground Zeroes of the Dead Rising series. The only difference being this game has a decent asking price, instead of a completely ridiculous one like you'd expect for a full game. I mean, who'd ask for almost full price on a game that's only an hour or two long? If you want to see more of the Dead Rising series, you can go check out my friend Petronius. He did a video on
Super Ultra Dead Rising 3 Arcade Remix Hyper Edition EX Plus Alpha!
He also did a video on Dead Rising Chop Till You Drop, but he deleted it because of reasons. So, next video is going to be Dead Rising 2, and the one after that will be based on The Walking Dead, Seasons 1 and 2. Video about Dead Space on Halloween. That being said, I'll see you all in my next video. Have a good day, everyone.